AviationPros.com is the portal website for AMT, Airport Business, and Ground Support Worldwide magazines. Visit daily for breaking news, industry blogs, and insightful articles from our magazine's editorial team. And don't forget to sign up for our publication's daily e-newsletters. It's all at AviationPros.com.
Hello and welcome to the Aviation Pros podcast. I'm Josh Smith, editor of Ground Support Worldwide magazine, and we're recording another episode from the IATA Ground Handling Conference taking place in Paris, France. And joining me on this episode is IATA's Director of Ground Ops, Monika Mejstrikova, and we're here to talk a little bit about how the last 3 days of the event has gone. So, Monika, thanks for joining me.
Good morning, Josh. Happy to be here.
Well, first of all, Monika, it's been a really exciting 3 days here. Can you share a little bit of your reaction to how this event has gone in Paris, just a few months removed from the Prague event, and how's your experience been personally now holding the title of Director of Ground Operations?
Well, I believe it was a very successful event. In comparison to Prague, we had many more participants. So in Prague, we had like 450. This year, we have over 700 participants. So the registration went, of course, significantly up, and we were very happy. You can feel that now Europe is opening. You know, the pandemic is no more felt over here. It's free. There were no, vaccination required, no mask. So people really felt that they could engage, they could network, they could connect, and build again on those friendships. Overall, we spoke to many of the participants, exhibitors, sponsors, the operational people, and everyone was happy. First of all, they were happy that they are here in person. They were happy that we have such a high number of delegates, that they could network and they could connect. Many of them, we had over 1,000 different meetings, networking opportunities, and they also said that they really liked the program. Yeah, so we listened to them. We got some feedback from Prague, and they were saying that they would like to have more cases on studies and implementation. So if we are talking about, let's say, green ground support equipment, so they wanted to hear from the industry who already implemented it and what are the challenges with the implementation and what are the benefits. So during the program, when we were building the program, we were really primarily focusing on good cases. So we have airports, we have, of course, a representative of airlines and ground service providers, and all of them were more talking implementation. So the topics was, again, ground support equipment. It was technology, utilization of new technologies. We were talking about limitation of loading errors. We have been talking about, for example, baggage operation. We went back to aircraft disinfection and cleaning. Of course, we were talking about regulation, harmonization. Of course, the primary focus or the key topic of the conference was people, purpose, and passion. So one full day we talk only about people and the skill staff shortage, and how to address it, how to retain and attract new generation of people. We had also motivational speaker Ryan Jenkins from Atlanta, and I think it was an amazing session. He was talking about Generation Z and what really matters to them and how we can bring them to ground operation.
Yeah, it's been a really fascinating program and really compelling conversations. And you alluded to the harmonization of ground handling standards and the importance of that in the industry. And it was touched on several times throughout the event. And I guess for our listeners who maybe didn't have the privilege to come to the event, can you share some of the high-level benefits that, of course, industry-wide standardization offers?
I guess it goes hand in hand with the labor shortage that we are facing, because of course harmonization was always related to safety. If you have one process, one procedure, how you handle aircraft, how you do the pushback and coning and choking and towing, then of course there is much less confusion, less complexity, and if the people operate according to the same standard, then of course the benefit is that first of all, it's much cheaper because you don't have to spend money on additional training. Yeah? There is the definite operational efficiency because also you don't have to check different manuals and different procedures because you know it by heart because you do it 10,000 times per month. And also the big benefit for the airlines is that it definitely drives a cost reduction. And today, when really we don't have the staff, and many of them left during the pandemic, and we do know that many of them will not be coming back, then they need to focus the resources somewhere else. So this is why we are really pushing for harmonization of ground operational procedures to make sure that the people don't have to spend a time learning what are the differences, and if I have to put there the minimum 4 cones, or I still have to put one, at the end, at the tail, or in the front, because the safety benefit is not there. We have done a multiple risk assessment on the harmonized procedures that we have. We have it in the IGOM, the IATA Ground Operation Manual, and pretty much all the airlines and ground service providers, when they review them, they agree that they are enough. They are sufficient, they are safe enough, and we don't need anything in addition to that to make sure that the aircraft turnaround is performed, in safe and efficient way. So to sum it up, the benefits are really saving on the resources and efficient utilization. It's of course less complexity, there is significant safety benefits, and there is also the cost benefit.
Yeah, those are all really important factors, and it seems the consensus at the show has been, throughout the conference, that this is the appropriate way to move. But what barriers exist, that are preventing us from, fully adopting standardization?
That's a very good question. You're absolutely right. Pretty much everyone agreed on the concept. We had also CEO session. We have a Director General, IATA Velivosh was here with a couple CEO from Swissport, Dinata, Avia Partners. So even on the top level, when we are always talking everything, the safety has to come, from top-down approach, they all agree on the principle. But I think somehow we are still facing the mindset, change that, of course, ground handling is not regulated. And as, this area is not regulated, every single airline and ground service providers develop in the past their own procedures. So it's something maybe that you are proud of, that you own, you update it based on your own information, data exchange events. And as the time goes, you keep these processes in place, and then you don't think that maybe they are no more relevant, or you don't have to have them because, the safety shifted somewhere else, and it's just difficult probably for some of the people to drive the mindset check. I really believe it's truly primarily about the mindset check, because when we look at the data, we did the risk assessment, and it didn't show that there is a need for variation. And I must say that now, when we have the IGOM portal back in Prague in November, we launched the IGOM portal, which means that people can now submit. Let's say, they can do online gap analysis where they compare the industry manual, the industry ground operation manual, versus their own processes. And as we are starting to see the results of the gap analysis, you can see that there are really no differences. They primarily have only addition to the key processes that we have published in the IGOM manual. And they are not safety related. There are a lot of related to some maybe commercial advantages or passenger related processes. So when you look at the core safety processes around the aircraft, they are pretty much the same. But I guess we have to do a better job in communicating, making awareness, explaining, and looking really at the detail. This is also why we have the portal, because I think by the end of the year, we just got, around 58 airlines that joined the portal. So once we get all the data, we will look at that, we will analyze it, and we will see what are the level of variation and potentially drive another level of enhancement to reduce the variation and, move it really towards the harmonizations. So let's see. Crossing fingers, but I would say, really, in a nutshell, it's a mindset change.
Very good. And obviously, it takes a lot of input, and it takes various perspectives. How can people in the industry get involved with IATA and some of its ground handling initiatives?
So our governance is a little bit complex, but it's good. It's working. So we have multiple task forces, and within the task forces, we work with both. With airlines, of course, we are an association of airlines, so the airlines, have, of course, primarily their place and their space to, express their opinions and drive the changes. But we work also very closely with the ground handlers. So we have two key technical working groups, and one of them is focusing a lot on operations, and they are drafting the procedures. They also are looking at the harmonized training requirements. They are looking at health and safety and contracts. And the second group is more focusing on digitalization, RAM automation, processes for autonomous vehicle, load control. So those are the two technical groups, and the governance is publicly available on IATA website, so I would probably encourage anyone to go there. There are some contact information for our team, and they can always send us emails, and we will be happy to involve them in our working groups where they can, raise their voice. They can say, potentially what are some of the advantages, disadvantages. They can drive changes. And again, the group will review anything. We will look at the processes. We have quite a rigid, voting system to make sure that whatever we put in place, it's really fit for the purpose and is agreed between the ground handlers and the airlines.
Very good. And that website is IATA.org.
Yes, it is. Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Very good. Monika, I thank you very much for the time, the information, and for a great event here at the IATA Ground Handling Conference in Paris. I really appreciate it.
Well, pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Again, thank you, Monika. That'll wrap up this edition of the Aviation Pros podcast. And for more information and news regarding ground operations, policy, and other related news, please continue to visit AviationPros.com.